the Harvey hot end. We pick the best teams and we pick the best games that you should bet on. We're 22-28 overall this season. We went 2-3 last week. But let's jump into our first pick of Week 11's Harvey hot end with the first matchup.
Texans at Cowboys.
So this one, Cooper Rush is going to be the starting quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys right now. Guess what? He was benched actually last game, midway through the game, for Trey Lance. And he's going out there again, which just shows how bad of a quarterback situation the Cowboys are in with Dak Prescott going down for the entire season. The Texans have suffered back-to-back absolutely brutal losses. The first one against the Jets, you're up at halftime, and you let Aaron Rodgers and this Jets offense dominate in the second half and essentially blow you out of the water morally. And then you go up against the Detroit Lions, you're up by 16 at halftime with Jared Goff throwing an interception every single drive, and somehow you end up losing this game by a field goal. Back-to-back brutal losses. And if the Texans are truly a good team, then normally when good teams get blown out or embarrassed the prior week, they come out and dominate and win the following week. So the Texans, if we think they're a good team, they should be able to come out and get right against a bad Dallas Cowboys defense and a bad Dallas Cowboys team overall. I expect Joe Mixon to have a great game. The Dallas defense, as everybody's been saying all year, the Dallas rush defense is non-existent. Nico Collins is returning, which is huge for C.J. Stroud, who Nico Collins is C.J. Stroud's favorite target and should give him more comfort in the passing offense. If Joe Mixon is working beautifully, which he was against the Jets, keep going to him. Don't change the offensive philosophy in the second half just because you want to spruce things up a little bit. Stick with what you're good at. Joe Mixon, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, C.J. Stroud, all should have good games. Give me the Texans to win. It's 7.5 point spread. It's a lot. Give me the Texans to win 27-13 and cover a 7.5 point spread. The next one.
Falcons at Broncos.
This one's interesting. I'm picking the Broncos here. I know, rookie quarterback versus experienced quarterback. You look at the talent between the two teams, and the Falcons on paper have the better talent when it comes to Matt Judon, Bijan Robinson, Kirk Cousins, an offensive line that has some great names to it. Meanwhile, on defense, Jesse Bates, Justin Simmons, they have a lot. They have a lot of players on defense and on offense name value-wise. But the way the Broncos are playing is a different story. Bo Nix last week outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and they were 7 or 8.5 point underdogs, which is crazy. And they were able to actually stop Mahomes so much, and Bo Nix was able to perform so well, they actually led what would have been the game-winning fourth quarter comeback drive. And guess what? Which is actually ridiculous. According to StatHead, which is like Pro Football Reference and Pro Basketball References, like advanced metrics, they have something called Drive Finder. They've been following drives since 2001 in the NFL. This is the first time that this whole sequence has happened. A short buzzer beater field goal, which would have won the game. It was the first one that got blocked in 24 years. So their data set, this has never happened before. And that's how the Chiefs are able to win. Bo Nix outplayed Mahomes. The Broncos defense did a tremendous job at disrupting everything Mahomes tried to do. And on top of that, Bo Nix is playing against the worst pressure defense in the NFL. He's the second worst while under pressure, but luckily the defense for the Falcons is ranked dead last in QB pressure rate. So Bo Nix should be pretty comfortable in the pocket. Falcons starting cornerback Mike Hughes, starting nickelback D. Alford, and backup nickelback Antonio Hamilton Sr., they're all out. So they're on third-string cornerbacks and fourth-string cornerbacks. The secondary of the Broncos, Pat Surtain, has done a tremendous job. They actually have some of the top, they actually have two cornerbacks in the top 10 according to PFF against the Falcons offense, where Kirk Cousins shot himself in the foot last week against the New Orleans Saints and lost to a bad Saints team. So give me Bo Nix to perform very well again. Give me Bo Nix to come out on top, and give me Bo Nix in this Denver Broncos defense and offense to be able to put up 23 points, only allow 20. Give me the Broncos 23-20 cover a minus 1.5 point spread. The next one.
Browns at Saints.
This one is a Jameis Winston revenge game. It's against his former team, the team that gave up on him, where he actually performed very well. And then Dennis Allen decided, you know what, let's keep Andy Dalton out there instead of Jameis Winston, when Winston was actually doing pretty well before there. Saints got lucky, though, against the defense, like I just mentioned, the Falcons last week, which is last in quarterback pressure rate. Guess what? The Browns blitz are the fourth highest percentage this season, and they're third in quarterback pressure rate. What have we seen from Derek Carr? He's not great under pressure, and he's not a good quarterback this season. The Saints defense gives up the most yards per play in the NFL, and also the second most rush yards per play, and the sixth most rushing yards per game this season. Who is the running back of the Cleveland Browns who's coming back and needs a nice breakout game? Nick Chubb. If Jameis Winston can minimize the bad throws, the bad interceptions, and the costly turnovers, I expect the Browns to come up big here. Now, some sports books actually have the Browns as favorites in this week. FanDuel still has them. When I made this graphic, which was a half hour before the show, as plus 1.5 point underdogs. That's great for me. Give me the Browns all day, every day to upset here. The Saints do not pressure the quarterback very well. They're actually the 5th worst in quarterback pressure rate this season. So I expect Jameis Winston to be comfortable. The Saints defense not to come up in any big spots and force them into bad mistakes. They're not good against the run. Nick Chubb should have a great game. Give me the Browns in an upset victory, 26-24, and obviously cover a plus 1.5 point spread. I'm picking Jameis Winston there. Here's the thing. Picking with Jameis Winston doesn't normally bode well. You found that out the last week or the week before. Doesn't bode well. But against a revenge game, I believe in the revenge. I believe in that mantra. You have a high motor, a high drive to show your former team that you screwed up. Look at Saquon Barkley against the Giants this season. Let's go to the 4th pick of this week, which is
Colts and Jets.
So Anthony Richardson's starting quarterback. 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't pick Anthony Richardson at all because when he was eligible, he was the worst quarterback in the NFL. And what's funny is that they actually backtracked their statement after the game last week. Shane Steichen said, Joe Flacco's going to be our quarterback this week, and backtracked on that comment. I think, honestly, I don't love it, but for the Jets' sense, I could actually be worried. Because the Jets did not do very well against mobile or athletic quarterbacks. And I'm going to rattle off some names which they struggled against, and some of the names might shock you. For instance, Kyler Murray. They weren't able to score a touchdown against the Arizona Cardinals, and they also couldn't stop Kyler Murray for putting up a decent amount of points. Also, Bo Nix. They struggled against Bo Nix. Josh Allen. They struggled against him. Russell Wilson. They got blown out by Russell Wilson and Drake May. And kind of Jacoby Brissett, a combination of those two, because Brissett came in when Drake May got hurt. But Drake May, I think, ran 4 times for 36 yards and got a touchdown on the ground. So they have some difficulty against mobile quarterbacks, and I think Anthony Richardson, if he's not afraid to get hurt again, which he's prone to do already this season, and last season, obviously, he was out for the entire year last season, off an injury only 4 weeks in, he needs to run more. Or give it to Jonathan Taylor, and hopefully he'll make magic happen. The Colts have 2 of the top 10 best interior defenders, so I expect Rodgers to be uncomfortable. Tyron Smith is going to be out for this game, so I expect the defense of the Colts to generate some pressure. What did the Minnesota Vikings do against Rodgers when they generated pressure? One of which, a number of interceptions, one of which ended in a pick 6. If the Colts are able to capitalize on Rodgers' mistakes, well, then they should be pretty successful. Give me the Colts upset victory, plus 3.5. Give me it all day, 21-17. Colts get this victory. And the final pick, I guess kind of the final pick, because I also have a 6th pick that I didn't include here. My 5th pick of Week 11, which is a game we just talked about.
Bengals at Chargers.
I got the Bengals here. Desperate teams make desperate decisions. Thankfully, it's not the offseason. Otherwise, I'd be shaking in my boots, because normally that means they're going to make the bad decision. But mid-season, when good teams get desperate, they come out with a fiery passion that teams that are kind of just cruising normally don't have. They're fighting for their playoff hopes. This will be this. If they do miss the playoffs, it'll be a back-to-back year missing the playoffs. The Bengals have just been a very unlucky team this season. There has been, since 1990, one other team that has had a passing leader, receiving leader, sack leader through 11 weeks. It was the 1990 49ers. Their record, 10-0 through 11 weeks. The Bengals have that this season. Joe Burrow's the leading passer. Jamar Chase is the leading receiver. Trey Hendrickson is the leading he's the sack leader. And they're 4-6. They've been very unlucky this season. A botched snap by a rookie punter led into what would have been, or what became a Derrick Henry 50-plus yard run, which set up a game-winning field goal. And then again, against the Baltimore Ravens, Joe Burrow plays tremendous. And then they had to throw it to Tanner Hudson, missed 2 face masks and a defensive pass interference, and they ended up losing that game by 1 point. You also lose to the Chiefs on a 4th down defensive pass interference call. They've been extremely unlucky. I expect that to change in this week. Joe Burrow is the highest graded quarterback when under pressure. He has T. Higgins back, which should add some comfort here. So those are my 5 picks. Texans minus 7.5, Broncos minus 1.5, Browns plus 1.5, Colts plus 3.5, and Bengals plus 1.5. The only other game that I would pick is Lions minus 13.5. because I think Mac Jones is going to get absolutely stormed. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.